Welcome back, episode 5, New World Fantasy Football. I'm Andrew Marchese, and my co host, Paul Kiefer, will not be joining us today. He had too much going on today, and just going to be me today. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing the my 1.0 mock draft using Pro Football Focus's website. Quickly getting into some of the news from the NFL. Main things, obviously, Brady retiring is the biggest piece of news we're going to have for probably most of the offseason. Yeah, fantastic career, obviously. Jordan-esque, Michael Jordan-esque, and maybe even better. Yeah, just happy my Giants got to beat him twice in the Super Bowl, and his 7 rings is not 9 rings, maybe even 10 with the Eagles, beating him that one time with Nick Foles, Philly special. So obviously a fantastic career. We'll see what he goes on to do next. The world will be watching, of course. And the other QB I want to talk about, who's definitely not retiring, he's a rookie, was a rookie, is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy had a pretty significant injury, that baseball injury to the elbow. Basically, last time I heard, probably going to need Tommy John surgery, which is about a full year recovery and slash what am I trying to say here? Rehab. That's the word I'm looking for. Rehab. So, yeah, Brock. It's interesting what's going to happen with Brock. Is he going to be a backup again? Is Trey Lance taking over week 1? I had said previously on the show that I think Brock is going to be the starter next year. That injury changed my mind. I think it's going to be Trey Lance. So it did look like they were well on their way to losing against the Eagles regardless. But still, Josh Johnson had to come in and do Josh Johnson things, just make like 1 or 2 splash plays and be disappointing. So I don't know. What team has Josh Johnson not been on? It's probably a good thing to find out. Sean Payton going to the Broncos. Broncos giving up compensation. I have to see what they gave up. I actually am not sure. I don't even know if those details are out yet, but either way, I should know. Looks like Broncos are just not going to have a pick going into next year. I don't know, very, very low picks, maybe the next couple of years. But honestly, their roster is pretty good on paper. So let's see if they can, Sean Payton can turn that thing around and turn Russell Wilson into at least close to back to where he was in his glory days with the Seahawks. D'Amico Ryan's getting hired. Hopefully that's a good hire. It's really cool that he's going back to the team he played for. And let's hope that the Texans can start to, excuse me. Sorry, something came up on my computer, basically telling me I'm a loser for only being me in this call. I'm recording it through Google Plus. So yes, Google, let me stay on the call. Thank you. What was I saying? Yeah, D'Amico Ryan's going back to coach his former team he was a player for. Really cool for Texans fans. Cool for him. Hopefully that franchise can start moving. And then Frank Reich. Frank Reich also went back to a team he used to play for. I had heard that he is the first player to ever throw a touchdown pass for the Panthers. And now he's the head coach for the Panthers. So pretty cool. Same thing for them. Hopefully he can get that franchise off the ground. We'll see going forward. Each of them has a QB thing to figure out. Just really a total roster thing to figure out. I think Panthers have a pretty nice defense, honestly. Hopefully their offense can be good. So that was really the main news from this week. Super Bowl the following week, and I will go over all that with my co-host when he's back next week. So I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do my first mock draft. I've studied the consensus players, top 50, 60 consensus players for the last few weeks. I'm not in super detail. I'm not sitting there like grinding tape all the time, but I have a decent idea of who these guys are. And this draft is going to be more so like what I would do in each GM's spot. The only thing that's not going to be there is trades, because I don't want to deal with all that. I don't want to deal with the like using the program to do trades, and it's a little annoying. But I'll bring it up if I think this might be a trade spot or not. So with that, let me share my screen and do my 1.0 mock draft. All right. So we have the Bears on the clock. The Bears are on the clock. And the first pick, 2023 NFL draft, I believe will be no other than Alabama's Will Anderson. Now, or I guess I would do that too if I was Ryan Poles. Reason being is their defense is terrible, and they need a cornerstone piece on that team, a blue chip player on that team. Getting after the quarterback is one of the most important roles in football. And I think the Bears will be very happy to take a stud edge rusher number one. Could that pick be traded? Yeah, definitely. Definitely a team. Texans, Colts. You got some other wild cards in there. Raiders, Panthers. Texans could even trade up one spot, do that whole deal to block any other team from doing it. And it'd be a smart move, because I'm pretty sure they're going to stay with Justin Fields, and they can get a lot of compensation for that pick. But for now, they stick at one and take Will Anderson. Number 2, easy, Bryce Young. Bryce Young, a little bit undersized, but good offensive coordinator, can use that talent, super accurate. He can move the pocket a little bit if he needs to and manipulate things, where Bryce Young has good throwing lanes, and he's got a fantastic amount of talent. Really, the only knock on him is just his size. So hopefully he can hold up in the NFL, and he can help the Texans, just be a successful team. Him and DeMeco Ryans, hopefully they make a great team. And number 3, another easy one for me. Cardinals are going to go Jalen Carter. We're seeing this trend more and more in the NFL, where teams are looking to get more pass rush from the middle. Instead of them just being your typical nose tackle run stuffers, it's let's get some pass rush up the middle. And that's helping a lot. You see, obviously, you have Aaron Donald, who's just a complete beast and one of the best, arguably the best defensive player in all of football. You got players like, of course, Chris Jones is another good one, and Dexter Lawrence, my man, Sexy Dexy, amongst a few others that off the top of my head I don't know, that are getting a lot of push from the middle. And I think Jalen Carter is just going to be a real stud from that spot, and he will provide the Cardinals with a spark on defense that they desperately need. So now to number 4. Very interesting one here, because if Jim Irsay doesn't decide to, just hire his next best friend as QB, who's terrible, they got to draft a quarterback here. And I've got Will Levis on the top of this list here, but I don't know. I think the Colts are going to be. I think the Colts are going to go with C.J. Stroud. I would go with C.J. Stroud, because I do think that Stroud will be a bit more consistent at QB. I think Will Levis has a lot of Brett Favre in him, where he's gonna be kind of inconsistent, throw a lot of interceptions, but also have a lot of huge plays, because he's not afraid to just fling that damn ball. And I think C.J. Stroud is just going to be a little bit more of a technician, And yeah, kind of seems like the kind of player the Colts want and need. So CJ Stroud, number 4. Number 5, I think this is a very interesting pick. I think the Seahawks having this pick, like, they have another pick coming up at 20, and there's they could take quarterback. Gino's been very solid for them for a year. That could definitely continue. They might want to run it back with Gino. I don't see why not. Since they've been, they were successful. They made the playoffs with Gino. Another thing they could do, maybe the Panthers. Maybe the Panthers trade up, and they take Will Levis if they like Will Levis. Don't get me started on Anthony Richardson this high. I think it's ridiculous. But I'll get to him when I make that pick. But I'm going to just go ahead and say they take an edge rusher, and I think that Tyree Wilson is actually going to be more disruptive than Myles Murphy. So I'm going to go ahead and have them take a top talent at edge rusher, improve their defense. Lions, kind of similar with the Seahawks, where they have that good QB, that consistent QB, not someone that's going to bring them over the top. And yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm not taking a QB for the Lions. I think that the Lions are becoming a very solid team, and they got Aiden Hutchinson last year, and they got the other side of that edge on defense, Myles Murphy. Now this, Derek Carr, obviously gone. Will Levis, to me, seems like he's going to be a Raider. So there you go. I like Will Levis. I think he needs to clean up his game a bit. He's got some speed. He seems like he's a gamer. I think that he's going to be a pretty good fit for the Raiders. I just think that year 1 is going to be a struggle. Davante Adams is going to have to really mask a lot of his deficiencies. And if they keep Josh Jacobs, which I think they will find a way to keep Josh Jacobs, he's as well going to be having to take a lot of pressure off of Will Levis in year 1. So I think it's going to be a little rough for him year 1, but I do think that ultimately can be a good enough pick. Like, maybe they're just getting younger Derek Carr. I don't know. QB is very hard to evaluate. You see that in the NFL all the time. Number 8 here. So this is assuming that everything is chalk for Falcons, and they don't go get anybody at QB, and they're just riding Desmond Ridder for this next year and seeing if he can develop. This pick here is a little bit different for me. I'm thinking Falcons. Falcons is a tough one for me. Looking at talent here, I know they have a good corner in AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett. Now, Brian Bresee, I don't know if I really want him going that high. They could always use they can use an edge player for sure. They really need to generate some pass rush. The question is this too high to go with Lucas Van Ness? I kind of think it is, because I see him in a bit of a lower tier than some of the other guys. So they're just going to go ahead and just take Brian Bresee and hope that he can get some Bresee, and see if they can get some pass rush and, somebody just solid in the middle that can just kind of do a little bit of everything. All right, Panthers. Panthers, obviously, quarterback is one of their biggest needs. I think the NFL is going to see Anthony Richardson and he's going to fall a little bit. I mean, the physical traits are there, but the quarterback play is just not there. Not not even close. So, I don't know though. This is one of those things where an NFL team can definitely get like salivating over a guy's traits. But if I'm the Panthers, and that's how I'm doing this draft. I'm the Panthers, I'm passing on Anthony Richardson. So, I'm going to say they have a good defense already. I mean, they could use another receiver. DJ Moore can't just be the only decent guy there, and Terrace Marshall, he's still developing. Pretty crazy they have Devon Witherspoon as their top corner on PFF. The guy's super fast. I like their defense, but maybe they go ahead and bolster it more. I'm gonna just have them take Paris Johnson, and that way any quarterback that does end up in Carolina, hey, maybe Paris Johnson can help them stay on their feet. Okay, Eagles. Eagles have such a luxury here. I think Brian Branch being a safety is probably going to fall a bit. The Eagles. Actually, let me see something. Yeah, PFF has them winning the Super Bowl. That's spoiler alert. That's why I'd have them too. I think money matters in the NFL, and that's why a big reason why you see running backs not go as high, because they don't want to pay like top 5 money for running backs. That's part of it. It's also just the value of a running back and the shelf life of a running back. But with that said, the Eagles let Miles Sanders walk, and they take Bijan Robinson because they have such a good roster. They can afford to do it. And they get another tremendous weapon on that offense, which really sucks for Giants fans. So, Bijan Robinson, 10th overall. The Titans are a team that absolutely need offensive line help. Taylor Lewan, I doubt, is back. His contract is like kind of inflated, and the amount of injuries he's had is really a lot. So I'm going to go with Skoronski just being a stalwart on the maybe the left side. We'll see where he ends up playing, but tackle for sure. Texans back on the clock. They've got Bryce Young. What do they do with Bryce Young? Well, they get him a receiver, Quentin Johnston. That could be a pretty awesome 1-2 punch for them and really get that offense moving. Brandon Cooks, I don't know where he's going to be. Some of the other guys they had, like, what was his name? Chris Moore, and somebody whose name's escaping me now, who was relevant for fantasy for like a couple weeks. I'm forgetting his name. That might be Chris Moore. I forget now. It doesn't really matter. Get him a weapon. Get a weapon for your new quarterback. Let those two grow together, and maybe they can turn into a really nice combination at the NFL level. So, Jets on the clock. Jets, man. Jets. I think Jets could be the team that, wow, could they take Anthony Richardson? They've got a bust in Zach Wilson on their hands. I kind of doubt he ever really turns into much. Could they do it again and take another quarterback? Somebody who is definitely a project where they might have felt like Zach Wilson really wasn't a project, taking him 2 overall. The Jets are very, very interesting, and they could use. They have a pretty good defense. I think they're keeping one of their safeties. Another safety's going to be gone. I know Brian Branch is sitting up there, but on PFF, but I don't know. I think safety's going to go lower. Why not get them another corner to go with Sauce Gardner? And I kind of like Christian Gonzalez more than I like Witherspoon. They're very close, obviously, in their rankings too. I'm going to go with Gonzalez, though, for them. Now they already had a solid defense. If Christian Gonzalez is good year one, him and Sauce Gardner together, great corner duo. That could really, make that a lockdown defense if he works out. Patriots on the clock here. Patriots, okay. They're kind of a best player available for the most part kind of team. They could use a tight end. I like Michael Mayer. Tight end is a little high for me. I think they're going to take the high value position. That's not Anthony Richardson at QB. Devon Witherspoon. Oops. Press the wrong button. There we go. Devon Witherspoon. Packers. You've got Christian results. You've got Christian Watson. You've got Alan Lazard. He's a free agent. Probably not. Maybe doesn't get re-signed. Romeo Doubs was a rookie last year as well. Tight end's a little blah. Quarterback. That's a very interesting offseason for the Packers because Rodgers might be gone. Who knows? He probably ends up staying on the Packers, though. Like trading for that contract. I know it's Aaron Rodgers, but man, that's wow. It's like a $60 million contract. They've got Jordan Love been sitting behind him forever. Who knows what he really is? It's hard to say. They could always use weapons. I kind of like Michael Mayer in this spot. Michael Mayer, though, is one of those players that he can really just go to any team that doesn't have like a stud tight end, and he's going to be part of the offense right away. So I don't think so, though. This is where I think Brian Branch goes. Washington Commanders. This is the team. This is the team. This is the front office. I think they're the team that's going to take the chance on Anthony Richardson and see what they can do with him. Turn him into a weapon on some level. And upside is good there. I really don't see them with Sam Howell, like going forward with Sam Howell. So Anthony Richardson, 16th overall. Steelers are up here. Let's see, Steelers. I could definitely see the Steelers taking O-line here. I could see an edge guy. Steelers are kind of tough to draft for because their team is like, it's got a lot of good players, but at the same time, like they have a lot of holes. It's weird. I could definitely see them getting some more support for Kenny Pickett in some way or another, whether that's O-line, whether that's a weapon. I don't think there's anything wrong with having two solid tight ends. That's where Michael Mayer comes in. We'll see what happens. They traded Claypool. They have Pickens, of course. They have Deontay Johnson, who we'll see if he comes back. Now that they traded Claypool, there's a good chance he ends up coming back. Could always use more receivers. That's like becoming one of those positions, like kind of like corner or offensive line, where you could always use more. So this one little tough for me. I'm gonna get them Jackson Smith and Jigba. That should give them a really solid slot guy to take a lot of pressure off Kenny Pickett. What I've seen, like, Kenny Pickett throws a good ball over the middle. He needs to work on his accuracy to the outside. Lions up again. They took their guy previously with what was it? Wilson, right? No, sorry, Miles Murphy. Wilson was the Seahawks. Different edge guy. They traded Hawkinson. They replaced him with Michael Mayer. Boom, easy. The Bucks. The Bucks, as of right now, obviously they have a quarterback problem. I don't think Kyle Trask is the answer. But all the first round quarterbacks are taken. I don't think that they're going to reach super far for Tanner McKee. Well, they have him pretty high here. Or Hendon Hooker or anything like that. Bucks, they've got a lot of, like, I could see them taking Van Ness here. The receivers are solid. They could use another lineman, but really, what team couldn't? Every team could use one. Yeah, I like an edge player for them, Lucas Van Ness. Seahawks back on the clock after they took an edge guy. They're just going to bolster this O-line, guys. I don't know much about Anton Harrison, honestly. I really don't. I know more about Broderick Jones than I do Anton Harrison. I'll just trust PFF, though, in this case. And I'm going to take offensive tackle. Then you've got Miami forfeited picks, so there's actually 31 picks in the NFL draft. The Chargers. Chargers are an interesting team because they have a good roster, but they can't ever seem to get out of their own way come the playoffs. They've had some bad injuries this year early on. It looked like those corners were going to be really good, and then they weren't. Their defense ended up being pretty bad. I think Nolan Smith is going to fall a little bit because of his injury. So I'm going to have them taking Cam Smith. Ravens are definitely a team that could use offensive weapons. I'm going to have them take Zay Flowers because they can use another guy that can stretch the defense. And he's a fast dude. And he's kind of that Marquise Brown replacement that they've been missing. Rashad Bateman, I think, is definitely, he got the possession guy. They need the over the top guy. So that's going to be Zay Flowers for them. Vikings just desperately need to improve that defense. They can take an edge guy, of course, but I think more so, like, their best corner is like a 30-something-year-old Patrick Peterson that I think they need to start looking at. Maybe not replacing, but getting the next guys ready. Joey Porter Jr. All right. The Jags. Jags are an interesting team as well. playoff team now. They signed a lot of weapons. Do they re-sign Evan Ingram is a big question. You know, they've spent first round on um, a defensive end last year with Trayvon Walker. And I think they do need a guard really bad. They obviously need DBs, it says right here. Osiris Torrance, though, I think this is a good spot for him just because he's a mammoth. And I think he can really help that offense get going, keep that run game pretty strong. All right, so my Giants, they desperately need a receiver. They need corners as well. They need a linebacker in the worst way. Trenton Simpson is there, who I like a lot. He can be that kind of like rover all over the field. You know, we'll see. I don't know if he's going to be quite to like Micah Parsons level, but I think he's going to be probably not because Micah Parsons is a superstar. But Trenton Simpson is the same style of player where he can rush the passer and still like just be everywhere on the field. But honestly, Jordan Addison, because they need receiver in the worst way, like really, really, really bad. Hodgins has been a nice find. Slayton has got some speed, but man, he's just super drop city over there. Richie James has been a good fill-in. He's not exactly somebody you want to like hang your hat on. Jordan Addison, very much in that Devonta Smith mold of type of player, body type. I think he'd be a fantastic fit for Daniel Jones. So, assuming Jones is back, which we hope he is. But all right, Dallas. What are you going to do, Dallas? Dallas needs to start replacing some of those old guys on their line. They've been known for a fantastic O-line for a long time. They still got a few good pieces on it, but they need to bolster it. Broderick Jones. The Bills. Let's see, Bills. Guard, center, DB is what they're saying their needs are. Yeah, I definitely agree with most of that. Doesn't mean they have to take that position. Nolan Smith, like they have Von Miller who got injured. Von Miller, though, I mean, he was, he's not exactly young. Trenton Simpson, I think, would be a good pick for him, though. Especially if they don't want to pay Edmonds. They can get a young stud in there at the linebacker position. Yeah, I've talked myself into that one. All right. Bengals. If that playoff game told me anything, it's that you really need offensive line. Like really, really bad. The problem is O-linemen are you're kind of reaching at this point for an O-lineman, at least based on PFF. But you know what? I think they're just going to fall in love with a guy and they're going to take him because I don't see them taking any of these guys. The only guy I can maybe see them taking this high is Siaki Ika. I think he projects as maybe more of a like early second. Kalijah Cansey is a little bit light for the position, but he's a stud, so he'll get a shot. These guys, yeah, I see them more as second rounder. I'm gonna have them take Ika, and they'll address that O-line. Second or third round pick. Saints, they're back in the first round. Okay, so this was one of those picks that the Broncos gave away for Sean Payton. Saints. Saints, yeah, they can use a quarterback too. My God. Every year there are surprises. And Siaki Ika just went off the board. Maybe they were looking at him. Quarterbacks sometimes just go earlier than they should. Tanner McKee to the Saints. The Chiefs. I think the Chiefs could use a few different positions. I mean, right here it's saying they need wide receiver. Do you really though? When you have Patrick Mahomes who can just like turn any receiver into somebody good, like his receivers don't get a lot of production, but it really doesn't matter. Like they score. They find ways to score. So like I don't know how important that is for him. Like if they need to address it right away. They drafted Karlaftis last year, which might take it away from Nolan Smith here. Also the injury. I could see Ojulari being a decent pick for them. Will McDonald. Josh Downs might sneak into the first round. Yeah, let's get him a weapon. Juju is not seeming like he's going to be somebody that works out really in the rest of his career. He's always kind of going to be average. That happens in the NFL. You got somebody who has a good year, and then everybody kind of like compares them to that best year they have like all the time from that point forward. Maybe that's not really who Juju was. Maybe Juju was just the benefit of whatever system he was in, and he's a good, not great receiver at the NFL level. Now the Eagles, the last pick back on the clock. So they got Bijan with their first pick. Feel like their offense is pretty much set. Their defense, I'm gonna have them take a corner here because Bradbury is just getting a little up there, and that's a position where any team can just use another one really. So Eli Ricks sneaks to the first round. Grading my draft. How did I do with every team? Guess I don't get a grade for every team. So here you go. Recap of it. Some of the notable ones for fantasy football, as what this is about. Obviously, any team that got a QB, something to look at. Texans with now in this scenario, they've got Bryce Young, they've got Quentin Johnston, and they've got Dameon Pierce. So like, it's kind of those trios that you look for in the in fantasy football, where you've got your really solid quarterback, your stud receiver, and your running back as well on one team. If Young and Johnston work out, and you've got Dameon Pierce, like okay, that's cool. That can be a functional offense. Obviously, the Colts with C.J. Stroud, they just need somebody to functionally run that offense so that Jonathan Taylor can not see 8 guys in the box every single time. Let's see. Of course, Will Levis. As I said, I think he's going to be kind of rough year one. He's going to struggle a lot with turnovers, I would say. And everybody's favorite for fantasy, you got Bijan Robinson, who goes to a great team for him in fantasy. Assuming Sanders isn't back, which in this scenario he's not. You still have Kenneth Gainwell, who's going to get his be involved. But, Bijan Robinson, he can also take the load off of Jalen Hurts a bit, where Jalen Hurts doesn't always have to be in a rugby scrum every time. That's the hope for fantasy players, at least, where it's like, all right, can you just let your running back score, which I cried about before. I already talked about Johnson, Anthony Richardson. I don't know. Honestly, I really think he's a bust waiting to happen, but he could still be okay for fantasy if he's using his legs a lot. That's for sure. Really doesn't have to be a good quarterback. If he's a good runner, doesn't matter. And Jigba, I think that he would be kind of average from year one at least, fantasy wise. He's not gonna, I don't see him being like 1,000-yard receiver right off the bat. Maybe like 700, 800, 4 or 5 touchdowns. Michael Mayer, tight ends just never, as good as he is and as polished as he is. I don't like you don't see tight ends really year one blow up on in fantasy. It's always like maybe towards the end of the year you could see it happening. But dynasty leagues, Michael Mayer is a good pick, and that's a good spot for him. Zay Flowers to the Ravens. Really depends on their quarterback. If it's Lamar Jackson, it'll be tough because wide receiver production with Lamar Jackson is just not really all that amazing. Zay Flowers would be one of those like jackpot players where does he catch the 80-yard bomb touchdown that week, which might happen 3-4 times a year or not? You're kind of looking at that. Addison, he would slate in as a highly used, highly targeted player, assuming he's not terrible from week one. He'd be on the field right away though for the Giants. Like he would absolutely be on the field right away. And then Tanner McKee, I can't even say anything about that. Who knows? And then anybody with KC, any skill position with KC next to them is always someone to potentially be excited about because Patrick Mahomes. So, going back to me now. That was my mock draft 1.0. I definitely want to continue to do these, and I want to do them with Paul, where we're kind of going back and forth, and maybe we're doing some team specific ones. Just depends what we want to do. But yeah, mock draft 1.0, that'll definitely change. Probably do one that's a lot more like predictive and getting closer to the actual draft. But thanks for joining me for episode 5 of New World Fantasy Football. Have a good one. Peace.